welcome to the Binance podcast. My name is Jared Wynn, and I am your host. Day to day, I'm the Senior Vice President of Charity at Binance, and I'm very excited to share this episode with you. It goes without saying that COVID-19 is of worldwide concern at this point, but it's difficult to find reputable information from those affected versus what we hear from the media. About a week ago, we ran a query on social media asking what questions would you have for someone who was at the epicenter in Wuhan. Iris has one of the more emotionally riveting stories, having experienced this since day one. The intent of this podcast is to learn from Iris's experience and to hopefully be better prepared as we fight this pandemic. So, Iris, thank you for joining us today, and I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I'm very happy to be here and can share more experience with a lot of people. And because considering now the coronavirus is already not only a problem or a thing happened in China, it's a global issue. So would like to share my experience with more people about that.
I think the best way we can start this off is start from day one. Where were you at, and how did you first hear about this virus, and what were your feelings? I'd love to just hear your experience from the start.
So I did heard about it from my friend actually the first time, and also when I came back to China, there is already some news came out. But to be honest, at that time, I did not take it seriously because every year there will be some news about like the flus, and also the time is very special because it's a Chinese New Year holiday. The Chinese New Year holiday is the most important one in China, just like the Christmas in US. And also, I already left my parents at home for almost 1 year. So at that time, like everyone in China was totally absorbed in the festival atmosphere, planning a lot of friends gathering and family fair. So at that time, I didn't think it's a problem for us.
That's scary when you start to realize that, wow, this might be something bigger than when I first thought.
Yeah. I remember clearly. I fly back to Hubei province on 19th January from Beijing. And after I landed, I went to the biggest, the supermarket to do a New Year's shopping together with my whole family, which is a very, very a ritual moment for us. And in that, I remember that in that supermarket, it's around 1,000 people there. It's hard for you to move because too many people there, and the scenes changed on the second day when I came back. There are more news and information out, and there is a picture. I remembered. It shows the medical staff were wearing the hazmat suit when they were receiving patient. This made me nervous. Actually, this is the first time I think the scenes may be different, but I didn't in panic immediately. The first thing I did is trying to verify information. So when I get the yes, it is true from my doctor friend and from my medical staff friend, then I realized yes, true, and it's maybe much more worse than I expected.
Right.
And also at the
That
same
first sign of panic, or that first sign of something grim. Absolutely.
Yeah. And exactly at the same day, the National Health Commission in China officially confirmed that the coronavirus can pass from human to human. This is a very dangerous, information for us. And yeah, that's I think exactly the day I changed my mind.
Yeah, that's a quick turnaround for within 2 days for that to actually take place. And it's, in terms of the way that information trickles from, country to country, I'd honestly say that the United States, from what I can see personally on social media and just from friends, family, loved ones, is that really it's been the last 2 weeks that it really started to hit home for us, and us realizing that this can be very large. And after witnessing what happened with China and then going to Italy, I think Italy really was eye-opening for us. And then, of course, the ban of different aviation and everything else. And one thing I want to highlight for our listeners is the time that this happened with China, and how that really played a big role in the spread of this virus, and how it just the things that you can see in China's day-to-day activities during the Chinese New Year. Tell me a little bit of how important the Chinese New Year is to China. How big of a holiday is that?
It's the most important holiday in China, and everybody will come back to home, and spend time together with a family. Normally, we will have 1 week holiday, for a lot of people. But if you are government officials, if you are a doctors, maybe you have shorter holiday time. But it's the biggest important thing in China. And this is, I'm only one people in China. I'm only one individual people in China, and everybody in China will do the same things. And a lot of people, especially the young people, are working in Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, or Shenzhen, the big cities. But their home is maybe in Hubei, in Shanxi, or some smaller cities. So everybody will move around. And another thing is Wuhan is very, very special. Actually, the Wuhan is exactly at the center of the whole China. This makes things very, very different. The Wuhan is, it's a transportation center for the whole China. So almost everybody, almost 60% of the people will move, will go back to home through via Wuhan city.
Wow. So that's actually something that I didn't know in terms of that. In the United States, we have our travel center hubs. Atlanta is a very big one. Salt Lake City is another, where most transit kind of goes through there. And I guess it would be something of similar expectation of if that was one of the infected epicenters, the rate of spread would be tremendous. And what also is kind of unique in this is I feel that it was just a recipe of disaster in several ways. And when this is on the Chinese New Year, factories are not operational, correct?
Yeah, definitely.
So it sounds like it was just so much that happened all at once that it couldn't have been a better or a more perfect recipe for the spread of this virus is what it seems. So, so as you started to come to realization of this on day 2, it sounds like you were one of the early, most early aware of this. How were other people responding? Were their reactions similar to yours, or what were their thoughts in this process?
I think it may be a little different from me because I just came back from Africa countries, because of my work, and I came back to China. So when I'm in Africa, to be honest, I did not notice or did not receive a lot of message on that. Because a lot of things to do every day, and do not have time to focus on the news in China and what happened. Maybe the Chinese people already received some news or information on that, but I think there is a process for the ordinary public. If we go back to the whole history of the coronavirus in China, the coronavirus outbreak in China, you can see actually there is already some news out from maybe the 10th or even the 5th of January. At that time, the people just are not sure what happened, but there's some news on that. So this is a process for the ordinary public. There's a time they will heard more and more news about that, and but I think the most of people are the same time are going through the same process as me. At the very beginning, they do not take it seriously, and with more and more information, the news, especially some confirmed cases in out of Wuhan and out of Hubei province, the things became more and more serious, and the public started to pay attention to it.
How long have you now been going through this then? How many days have you been in a quarantine or a lockdown situation?
On 23rd of January, the government locked down Wuhan city, the whole Wuhan city, closed the bus, metro, airport, railway station, highway. And so for Yichang City, the local government takes similar actions from 25th of January. So it's around 1.5 months.
Wow, that's yeah, 1.5 to 2 months. That's 45 to 60 days that you have been in this
Oh,
situation,
yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
is when you think of it in a number of days, it just makes it seem even longer. And how are things in terms of your family and in terms of being able to speak to family Would you normally be spending more time with family if you weren't in this situation? And how are you coping with that?
Even though we're, we cannot go out, but it's an opportunity that you can spend more time with your family. I think for young people like me in China, it's an opportunity. I can, you can spend more time, because most of people, you cannot spend so long time together with your family if you are in the normal time, because we normally we only have 1 week's holidays for Chinese New Year.
Sure.
So yeah.
So it's
And
forced quality time with the family at this point.
yeah, so it's happy, and also, yeah, it's not happy.
Yes. Well, if I was, and perhaps I will be locked in a house with my family for 45 to 60 days, there would be ups and downs, and needless to say.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah.
So what are you, in terms of your quarantine, what is that limited to? What are you allowed to do? How often are you allowed to go out? What are the terms of that?
I think, I think on the first day of the lockdown, the government just say, they do not encourage people to go out. They encourage people to stay at home if there's no emergencies. But with the confirmed case, it became more and more. It became, with the numbers increasing, the rules became more strict. The government or the local government, say, actually, you must stay at home if you, especially if there is a confirmed case or wrongdoing or in your community. So for now, actually, we can just we can only stay at home, and if you have any basic or necessary life supplies you want to buy, every 2 days, one of your family members can go out. And also there is even a time that nobody can go out, and the community members will, deliver the food or the basic supplies to you.
What did you do then to prepare, in terms of once you realize the severity of the situation? What did you do to prepare? And is there anything that you wish you would have done differently?
Yeah, definitely. You need to prepare a lot of things, especially, um, uh, when you go out, you must be wearing a mask. So the first thing is you need to store a lot of mask and try to buy or get some mask from different places.
Sure.
But so for the medical supplies, definitely we need to try our best to get it. But for the basic life supplies, I must say we didn't prepare a lot, because, as I said, it's a spring festival holiday period, and traditionally the Chinese people have the habit to store things, buy a lot of things, do a big uh, New Year shoppings. So we will store the food and other supplies. But for the but we are work contented for almost 50 days, so there is a time you cannot get everything you want as normal. Like, if you want to get fresh fruit or the fresh vegetables, it's not easy. It's not easy. So there's a time, I should not say it's a hard time, but there's a time you are not comfortable.
Sure. I think that that's the extent that we're reaching at this point, is that we're realizing that our quality of life that we had before this, was quite comfortable. And I think that if we're all going to learn something from this pandemic, is that we had things pretty good, and an appreciation, I think, will be had for the way that things were, and the way that things will be when we come together out of this. So, do you know anyone personally who's been afflicted by the virus, or do you have any stories about loved ones or friends or family members that you've had, who have gone through this experience?
Luckily, I do not have any direct relatives or family members who are affected, but I do heard a lot of stories by my friend, because I have, I have some family members or friend are working in hospital, and they are the people facing directly with patient or on the front line. So here, actually, I would like to share one story, which is one classmate of of my friend, and he actually is medical staff, and he were confirmed as coronavirus. Why I want to share, because I really learn a lot, especially when I'm in Hubei province. Maybe from the other people's eyes, maybe us, the people in Hubei is definitely, like the medical staff, we're facing the virus, directly, and we're on the front line. So I want to share his story. Actually, he's a medical staff in one Wuhan hospital. And after several days working continuously at the favorite clinics, he didn't feel well and got some cough, and the body temperature is very high. It's around 38.5. And so I got the lung CT check, and there are some shadows on that. And after that, the symptom continues, and even get worse. And so he came back to the hospital to take the check again. And after the communication with a lot of expert in his hospital, and he's confirmed as coronavirus affection. But luckily it's not the critical AU case. So he write an article about the whole process to us. So I totally understand what's happening and what's in his mind. He told us the first thing in his head is his family, his little son, his wife, his old parent, and he is a very big a very important part of the whole family. So at the very beginning, actually he's afraid. He's afraid. He cannot overcome this, and he cannot support his wife. He cannot to see his kids grow up, and he cannot spend more time together with his parents. And there's a time he's really in a very down mood. But then I think the most important thing, or the most right thing he did, is he accepted the truth that he is a confirmed case. And also every day he will FaceTime with his family, especially his little son, to keep his mood, to keep his emotionally relaxing, and report his status every day. And he just give him such environment to in a very relaxing mood and emotional things. So but the lucky thing is 2 weeks later he overcome this. He became healthy, and just depend on himself. He did not go to hospital. He just stay at home, try his best to do everything he can. And this may be a very, very normal case in 80,000 affected people in China. But the key lesson, or the learnings from his own experience, is the attitude, the spiritual confidence when he recorded the whole experience. I think this is very, very important, for anybody involved in this fight. Following the instruction of the expert is very important. Wearing mask and wash hands is also very important. But more importantly, we must believe we can overcome this. It's just a matter of time. I was in Hubei province. There is a 1 week time, I think, that some people are in panic, including me myself. I'm also in panic. Every day when we wake up in the morning, we can see how many new confirmed cases. We can see the number increase a lot every day. And especially, I can remember there is an article, on social media, said the lockdown of Wuhan city is to secure the rest of the China, but they prepared to sacrifice Wuhan and Hubei province. Maybe this article is not bad intentions, but for the people in Wuhan and Hubei like me, it's a terrible message.
You definitely don't want to see something like that, especially when you're going to be one of the ones at ground zero. That's horrible.
Yeah. At that time, and even there's 1 week in my family, my father, stopped everyone to looking at their phones, too frequently. And then they try to talk to me, we try to organize, the whole family to watch TV, or we playing, we play some games together, because the only thing he tries to do is, stop us, looking at the news, looking at the numbers every day, because, that will be a horrible thing for everybody. Because if you receive too much information, on the internet, and there's a time it's hard for us to identify what is true, what is not true. But there are so many, there may be some positive, but there's a time that, too many negative news, and so make everybody in the panic mode. So that is not a thing. So I want to tell a lot of people, even though you are confirmed, you must be confident. You can overcome this. You can overcome this, and it's just a matter of time. And the whole people, the globally, each country will overcome this. The confidence is very important.
Iris, thank you so much for taking the time to share your story and the advice that you've given us today. I've learned a lot, and I hope our listeners do as well. This has been the Ask Wuhan episode of the Binance podcast. Thank you for listening.